My name is Neil Stahl, and this is my discussion board module 12 video submission post. Your textbook suggests that sexual socialization takes different forms in males and females. Why do you think our societal norms encourage females to feel guilty about engaging in sexual activity? Do you think that the double standard for males and females regarding sexual activity is still in force today? So, to address the first portion of that question, um, I don't think so much that societal norms encourage women to feel guilty as that they are just constructed in a way that is incredibly likely to create that kind of effect in a woman who more often than not is probably brought up to value certain very specific things as far as sex and relationships is concerned. uh Having a husband, having kids, the wedding, Prince Charming. um it all speaks to a very like exclusive perspective on sex and relationships, right? So women who conduct themselves contrary to that attitude can find themselves in situations where they feel guilty of their own accord or are interacted with in a fashion as to create that guilt. Um, I think our book speaks specifically at a point, Wheaton et al., 2018. Females are typically taught to view sex in a context of a loving relationship with one partner. They learn about romance and the importance of physical attractiveness and catching a mate. Unlike males, they are not encouraged to experiment with sex or to have numerous sexual partners. In fact, women who are sexually active may be chastised for their behaviors. All right, so this says may be chastised. I think that I can say that each of us has probably experienced, witnessed um, something of that nature take place, simply without having research data to supply for that particular point or an additional reference. Um, so intrinsically, inherently, I think that that's something that can be said to be true. Moving on, however, another question that has to be answered, the second portion of our question is, do you think the double standard for males and females regarding sexual activity is still in force today? Um, I think simply from the answer that I supplied for the first portion of the question, it could be uh, deduced that that's something that is still present today. Our textbook goes over that, as I discussed a moment ago, and a separate source of information that I thought supports the point that, yeah, the double standard is still something that's apparent in today's society. Uh, Psycholife.org, Are We Still Condemning Women for Their Sexuality? An article that is a part of this site. And I just pulled one sentence from it because I think that it says very well what it is that we're talking about. That is, despite our social advances, our culture is still guilty of casting women as what author Estella Weldon described as mother, Madonna, or whore. Um, the piece kind of goes on to express that, putting women into any one of these three categories, obviously you're taking away, you know, a very large component of who she actually is by doing such. Um, but just the first person in that sentence, we are in a culture that has advanced from where it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, but some of those same things that were present then are still present now, including that double standard for women. I hope that this video submission has been sufficient to fulfill the needs of this assignment, and thank you very much for taking the time to watch.